All right, it's time for another episode of the History of Propaganda. My hiatus is over. Um, I had to think about this for a long time, and this has naturally been something on my mind throughout this entire series because of my concerns about the future of this country, that is Canada, and of course, its cultural heritage, the contexts of the history, and our diverse or our homogeneous composition, which is it's evil. It's so fucking evil that we have to induce and invite more genetic prosperity and diversity. I don't believe in this fucking bullshit because immigration propaganda is all about creating a new class of slaves. That's what it is, indentured slaves in order to prop up the liberal class, the liberal intelligentsia that don't want to work and they want to remain in a position of power. Now, what gives a person power is confidence. And as you can tell, I've cleaned myself up a bit. Not so bad. Skills are more valuable than money. I said this already in my money, Bits and Bytes money, and how I hate money. I fucking hate money. I do. But here we go. Let's have a look at me here. See the backside here? I'm all cleaned up, off the ears, off the collar. And believe it or not, this is me cutting my own hair. Skills are more valuable than money. Now, since I'm talking about immigration, and I've done a video already about the number of immigrants that come from the Middle East, they come from India, that there's too fucking many of them. There's too fucking many. That's the truth. It destabilizes the demographic because of this idea of population decline and even overpopulation before that. But again, that's all bullshit. That's all propaganda, all having to do with, again, because too much liberalism leads to slavery. When we have too open a society, we allow the thresma of the mongrels, so to speak, right, of the world, the less intelligent but more populous, to overrun everything and destroy everything that we've ever created that is good for ourselves. Now, it's not because again, race, and I get into racism here in order to cover my ass and to frankly to refute and repel any kind of dispute or discredit that comes to my character or my education. Or my intelligence, these assaults, these ad hominem assaults that do away with my credibility. But any soldier and any person in the military that's been deployed will tell you that not everyone in the world plays by the same fucking rules. They don't, right? They don't. They just don't. This is the truth of the matter, and we have to recognize that. And the same problem that. It's a universal issue with many cultures, and hence why I'm being more territorial and more patriotic in these regards, and trying to represent as much as I can, the veterans. I would say I have more degree, or some people get really mad about civilians wearing paracord bracelets and stuff like that. But come at me, I want me to pull my uniform out again, because that was it. The uniforms from cadets and all the facilities are provided by the Canadian Forces. The funding, to a large degree, and then the Air Cadet League and the parents' committees and the legions. I passed by the Legion yesterday on my bike ride in Byron, that used to be the home of 862, and it was a supporting legion. And then there's also the 427 Squadron Association here at the airport, and again, I will not back down. And there's this attitude of discredit. Again, because people don't think that cadets is important, that youth leadership is important. But I'll reiterate and re-emphasize that youth leadership programs are more important than the military. Cadets is a military apprenticeship. People don't understand that. That's what it is. When you spend that much time around veterans and that much time around the military, it's going to become part of you, whether you like it or not. Especially in someone in my case who was a full-term lifer, so to speak, right? Like from the age of 12 until 19, 7 years of my life. And cadets I lived a double life, right? I was in high school, but cadets to me was of higher importance. And my dedication to the forces and to my future career as a fighter pilot, which was my lifelong dream at the time, doing everything that I can to support other people within the squadron, however awkward or inept I was or inadequate in some regards, or shit disturber, because frankly I'm still that kind of person, right? I'm still that shit disturber. Shout out to some people that I've talked to, in which I've explained what I wanted to do, and the people that again, in some ways, when the military doesn't respond to you, that's consent, right? When they don't respond, they can't say anything to cover their own asses, and that they don't want to endorse it, right, through communication. They won't want any trace of it. I'm not saying that I'm by any regards endorsed by the Canadian Forces or any intelligence agency. I am not. I'm just a contractor, right? That's just trying to do whatever I can to not run from my past and to support and do an honor in some way with my intelligence and capacity for knowledge, and my adeptness with dealing with all of this information, to disseminate and explain to people that may not understand the actualities of our existence as it is in 2023 and up to this point, from the point on of the 10 days that shook the world, basically coming from the moment in time from 2001 and thereafter, because that was a pivotal moment in our history in North America and the world, right? And all of these geopolitical events that have happened thereafter, and which is the meat of the history of propaganda, because this is what I experienced. And as far as a writer is concerned, or historian, you should write about the things that you know. You should write about the things that are personally affecting you, because you can outstep your bounds and make yourself look like a fool when you're talking about things that you are just on the fringes of your knowledge. And again, I've spent years in front of a computer with my nose in a book, drawing and listening and practicing what I preach as best I can as a Christian and as an intellectual. Because if I don't do these things, then I will not be able to live with myself. I just won't. Because intelligence, and psychology, if we're going to look at sports psychology, is 90% of the fight. And where this comes in correlation to India and Pakistan is that, and also other Middle Eastern events, is that some of the CIs, so the civilian instructors, and the officers that were my superiors in cadets, were veterans of deployments to Cyprus and even India here. And I myself, I was in India Koi, right? I was an India Koi sergeant in 2004 as a staff cadet. I spent, 6 weeks, actually 7 weeks at Borden that year, and 6 weeks at Borden the previous year, 3 weeks at Trenton, then also, 3 weeks at Trenton, 3 weeks at Belleville, Loyalist College, and then 2 weeks again at Trenton. So we're talking ground school, introduction to leadership, and technical course, ABN, that's my sweater. And then again, being a staff cadet, which is a practical experience of being an instructor and of being, in a leadership role. And this is why I'm so mad, again, with some of the requirements when it comes to hiring from different organizations and in placement agencies and in, headhunters that don't value youth leadership, okay? because the example that has been set for me is very high. It's very high, and I ran from it for a long time, but I'm not going to run from this anymore because I have to use my gifts. I choose to use my gifts, and so this is where we're at, right? We're in the this installment having to do with India, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, because they're so close to each other, and it's such a hot spot in history, especially since the middle of the last century. Because eventually, I will get into these things, and the potential for the history of propaganda is just absolutely huge. It is just so huge. It's going to be huge. I'm telling you. I just have to keep doing it, and I have faith and I have confidence in the things that I'm doing, because if you don't act like royalty, then you're not royalty. If you don't have the wherewithal and the dignity, then there's no character, right? And if we're going to talk about bloodlines, so I'm wearing my blood.ca band here, and I'm going to reference Enduvian DNA, and we're talking again India. If you're at India and China, you're talking about one of the origins of humanity. Because I don't believe, and I can't with a sound mind even think about the out of Africa theory, because that's fucking bullshit. That's fucking absolute fucking bullshit. And because as far as I'm concerned, I've said this before, there's 5 distinct human families from the sprouting of the tree. That's the actual human diaspora, because you can trace it back through the languages as well as through the anthropology and our shared histories and interactions. So, I don't hate Indians. I don't hate Muslims. I don't hate Middle Easterners. I got resistances because of culture clashes and things that we believe are higher priorities in different ways of living. And different cultural norms. So say like the construction of hierarchies within the society and how different they are, and the lack of respect that I see, because people. This goes both ways, right? When I go to somewhere else, I'm gonna bring my cultural touchstones with me. I want something to remind me of my home, right? I want to, but again, a lot of people will move from their home, and the mannerisms, the physiognomy, the actions and behaviors are in our DNA, and is so-called through the theory of epigenetics, right? That there's just some parts of us that we can't get rid of, and this is how ethnicities are defined, not only because of geography but because of behavior and cultural traditions, right? So I'm Celtic, right? My family is of native French and English Isles descent, and further back into, for the steel name, you're talking about Switzerland and Germany, like legitimately. So I'm trying to speak for every piece of myself, including the natives, as best I can. And I'm fucking tired of this shit, right? You look at what's happening. Again, we're going to talk. I've touched on this before, and I'm more emphatic, right? So more trying to show a few more emotions in this, because I am just so fucking pissed off about this. And the number of people that have been brought in through incompetence or through purpose, through a purposeful agenda to destabilize the very core identity of what it is to be a Canadian. And I don't like that. Because apparently being Irish or of European descent is a problem. It's a problem. But you know why that is? Is because Northern Europeans, and actually just mostly Europeans, and North Americans are some of the smartest people in the world. We absolutely are. Okay? And I'm going to include people from from African origin, the slaves, right, that have risen up through the United States. Because that's the reality of things. And there was black Nova Scotians, and I'm more than highly likely, I have black people in my extended family, and so on and so forth. And there's something in my DNA with natives and blacks, and because that's what it is to be Canadian. Every one of us, to a degree, is an immigrant. Even the natives are immigrants, right? This is the truth. So this is why I have such an issue with the immigration propaganda and the number of people that have been brought in and that have abused the better nature of Canadians and Canadian attitude towards the rest of the world. And so, and then we get into like religious fanaticism, right? And that's where the conflicts happen. So I'm going to touch on a few things here, because you look at the population of India. The population is 1 billion. This is 2023 estimate. 425,775,850. Okay, so India and China are the largest population centers in the entire fucking globe. Let's be clear about that. And I remember cruising. I'm gonna admit, I've been on 4chan more than a few times, and I've heard, seen this from other people. Type this in the Pajit is the name. Pajit. It's a derogatory term. That we're a plague, right? We're fucking everywhere, and this is one of the things that pisses me off, because it seems to be this, forgive my ignorance if you're Indian and if you're really watching this, that again, this religious fanaticism, this again, we're talking about Hinduism. So three primary. So we got this is in the third paragraph about India on Wikipedia. Again, I'm using this as a starting point for expansion. Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Zoroastrianism, and then, of course, you get into Hinduism. Right, 79% of the religions. And this is the 2011 census. So 79.8% Hinduism, 14.2% Islam, 2.3% Christian, 1.7% Sikhism, 0.7 Buddhism, 0.4 Jainism, and then further and further. But 14%, you go by 2.3% Christianity. So what's 2.3 Christianity? Okay, I'm obviously a bit biased here, being a Christian myself. So let's go to Google. Actually, I have a calculator here. So 2023 estimate. So 1,425,775,850 times 2.3 equals 3 million. Right, divided. I did that wrong. Divided by 2.3. With the percentage. Forgive me for not being up to my usual with math, and that's supposed to be another highlight of India. A lot of good Indian engineers out there. At least the full gamut. I've seen good ones and bad ones. This is embarrassing. All right, now I'm trying to remember. That's right. I don't know how to do that. Okay, that's right. So just had to grind the gears a little bit there. Get this out. Get that percentage out there. I know some of you will probably be like, "What the fuck is taking him so long?" Times 0.023 equals. Okay, that's a better number. I remember how to do it. All right, percentage divided by 100, so 2.3, so 0.023, 32,792,844. 32 million Christians. That's not a small population by any means. You know, and then 14.2% Islam. So let's clear that out. So again, 1, 4, 2, 5, 7, 7, 5, 8, 5, 0 times decimal 0.14 equals 19 million. I know it's probably a little bit higher. 14% of 1 billion, so that's gonna be 199 million, something like that. I don't give a shit right now. That's how I remember how I did. Let's see how I did this. Yeah, okay, so 1, 4. I'm getting tired of writing this number out. 1,425 775 850 times 0.142 equals 202,460,170 Muslims. So, you know, Jews, Christians, and Muslims have been fighting for dominance or, you know, equity for years, you know, for thousands of years. A story as old as time. But, you know, okay, if I'm going to talk about the religious fanaticism, it's just like, okay, so you look at the attitudes of these Hindus, especially the very devout ones. That's all they do is there seems to be three things that they do. You know, again, I'm gonna say this out of hyperbole, which is eat, sleep, and fuck. Quite honestly, that's all they want to do. That's all they do. And you know, you look at the culture and it's crumbling, or the country and it's crumbling infrastructure in a lot of ways. And I'm saying this not having been there, right? We'll just get a video on here or something like that. Politics and government, that's going to be a good one. Excuse me.
Beneath the glistening high-rises that stretch skyward from the Indian megacity of Mumbai, a parallel world exists, crammed into a tiny triangle of land. Dharavi. Around 1 million people live in this labyrinthine slum, one of the world's most recognizable ghettos. While Dharavi has become synonymous with human suffering, it is also a bustling cosmopolitan hub, highlighting the multi-layered nuances of Indian society and culture. Families pack themselves into its 60,000 shanties, while workshops and rudimentary factories form the backbone of an underground economy worth up to $1 billion each year.
Textiles.
To many, it is a symbol of this country's harsh economic inequities and policymakers' failures to manage rural migration.
There's the Muslims.
But for the people who live here, it represents a chance, just maybe, to improve their lot.
हाँ सर, बोलते तो कुछ भी नहीं आना चाहिए तो भी मिल सकता है सर प्लास्टिक में काम, क्योंकि ये मेहनत और मजदूरी वाला काम है.
Okay. So again, for teaching aids, I'm going to put these in with the third volume. That's a very good one, as far as I can tell. The production value. Free documentary. It's a good channel. German production. And of course, everyone knows about Bollywood. There we go. There's India's genetic ancestry. See if I put this in.
The leader of India's National People's Party.
I did. Okay, so that's part of History of Propaganda, Volume 3. Robert Zephyr. Again, so he's going to be talking about a bit of Anduvian DNA, right? So again, O negative, Anduvian. We're talking about, Aryanism. And there's always that rumor that when Jesus walked in the desert, he went to, or he disappeared for a while. There's a gap between his childhood and when he returns as a young man to Jerusalem, whatever it is, that's, I'm not going to get into that. That he went to India. And then you get into stuff like, okay, so the relationship with Hitler, and the swastika. The swastikas are everywhere, and one of the symbolisms is, of course, with Hinduism. Again, my anger just comes from a lack of respect, right? And you have, basically they come here, and okay, so let's look at the demographic distribution. So by income. Socioeconomic factors. So standard of living. Here's another one. India, young population, rapid growth. This is from Encyclopedia Britannica. And so then I'm also going to include this you know, I'm not going to soften up on the Indian government. I'm not. You know, I'm very angered by the disrespect that I've encountered and the lack of action and the infiltration of Indian origins into Canadian institutions and into other large multinational corporations, and especially like so say my personal experience having to do with Scotiabank, you know, and how and same with Capital One. And then we're talking Indian scammers and Nigerian scammers on Instagram, or hackers, right? And then these, you know, again, we're talking about the phone farms. And, you know, I get very frustrated with this. And, you know, again, considering the ongoing conflict between India and Pakistan, in my opinion, if it ever came down to it and I was in charge, I'd hands off, totally hands off. You know, I would not involve Canada one bit. And I'm not the only one that feels like that. Because it's just, you know, at a certain point, you know, especially with the state of the Canadian military as it is right now, we can't even equip our own soldiers with the proper helmets. You know, it's fucking embarrassing. If I had a trash can, well, it is here, I would kick it over. It's fucking embarrassing. You know, Tilly hats for everyone. That'll stop a bullet. No problem. Hey, if you're dead, I don't have to give you a pension. All right, so what I'm looking at here is, again, okay, so India is one, just by population concentration and also by, you know, looking at the literacy. Literacy, of course, has changed a whole lot. What am I going to get into now? Where is it? Literacy, it's in here in the beginning. Control F, literacy. There we go. So again, from when it became independent in 1951 from the population grew from 361 million to almost 1.4 billion in 2022. So you see, too liberal society equals slavery, because you know, when you have so many people fighting for the same resources, then of course there's going to be some class warfare, and of course everyone knows about the caste system and how that was so effective, you know, not effective, affective upon its culture. You know, again, I don't want to visit India right now. I really don't. I'm just until something happens, until something changes, you know, with these bad actors within India that want to seek historical and cultural revenge against the Commonwealth and of the colonialist era of Britain. You know, this is why I'm so angry, right? There's nothing changing. And then, okay, so then I consider the Belt and Road Initiative and China's influence upon India, and then its influence upon Afghanistan, and then, you know, through Israel and even into Africa, because, you know, these things matter. They matter. You know, geopolitics matters. We can't just expect for, you know, the wind to blow on one side of the ocean and for it not to create a wave on the other, right? The butterfly effect. There's always a chain of events throughout history that leads to a disaster, right? And I say this as you know, as academically as possible. And this is again why, you know, okay, so then this is why, you know, Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation was with let's see, Gates Foundation and birth control and family planning. Because this has to happen, right? This is why the opinion of, again, from 4chan, from certain people, why it's such a problem, is because the more children that you have, the more likely you're going to be in poverty because of your access to not only to medicine, but resources, you know, and because of historical treatment of women within India. It even says it here within the... So Control F again. So we're talking here, by 400 BCE, stratification and exclusion by caste had emerged within Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. Had arisen proclaiming social order unlinked to hereditary. Early political consolidations gave rise to the Lusnit, Mayura, and Mars Basin, the Ganges Basin. The collective era was suffused with wide-ranging creativity, but also marked by the declining status of women and the incorporation of untouchability into organized system of belief. Dravidian language, scripts, and religious cultures to the kingdoms of Southeast Asia. You know, again, these are inescapable facts that you know, that the lack of control, the lack of foresight, the lack of care, right, the complacency and also the corruption, the ever-present corruption within the government. You know, this is nothing new. This is just a different form within North America that leads to slavery, that leads to human trafficking, that leads to worsening socioeconomic standards. So we're going to get into here the poverty. So 24.3% of the population, again, this is from Wikipedia, it's a good starting point, but not to cite it as a primary example, earned less than $1 a day in 2005, down from 42.1% in 1981. So some things have gotten better, but, you know, ebb and flow, right? Ebb and flow. And I don't, it's just like, I can't fucking stand photo ops. I've done this, I've talked about this before with immigration propaganda, and I think the first or the second volume with the photo op of Prime Minister Trudeau with the Indians in the backdrop, right? They're in the background. Not everyone wants to be there, right? And not they're very unhappy faces. And the usury of this population for a power base because of, well, you know, this liberal idea of the melting pot, right? This sociological idealism that is the golden standard, right? Let's just turn everybody into a gray-brown mess, and I don't want that, you know. And that's why I'm resisting it, you know. I'll get into this a little bit more. So the Indian economy has grown steadily over the past 2 decades, and its growth has been uneven with comparing different social groups, graphic regions, and rural and urban areas. From 2015-2016 GSDP growth of Andhra Pradesh, so that's a province that's in the southeast. Bihar, forgive me for the pronunciations, that's in the northeast. Madhya Pradesh, so that's in central north. So those are the higher than Maharashtra, Odisha, or Punjab. So Maharashtra, So that's on. Yeah, it looks like the city, Mumbai, you know, by profile looks like Dubai, and of course there's some etymology, some share in it, like the name. You know, and this is why I say that not Indians don't like each other, right? Not everyone is there's these tribal and these ethnic, even diverse parts of their diaspora. I fucking hate that word. Fucking hate that word. And diversity, but you know, they have diversity, but white people don't. It's completely bullshit. Complete fucking bullshit. That's like saying all black people are black. They're not. They have different shades, right? The colors of black people are in this painting here. That's part of the point. Part of the reason why I'm doing it. Right? There's and there's browns and different tones. Right? You don't. If you put a frickin' Nigerian next to a Rwandan, you can tell the difference. You know, or next to an Egyptian, you can tell the difference. Or you could put a Mexican next to a Peruvian. You can tell the difference, right? We're not all the same. We're not supposed to be the same. And like this idealism of that comes from these again, it has to do with what's it? Forgive me. I'm trying to remember this. Having to do with eugenics, right? Trying to differentiate the two-class stratum of superiority, which is then a cultural superiority. So as I said before, and I'll say it again, white supremacy is Jewish supremacy. And racism is language used to suppress. Is language used to suppress the critical nature, or so the critique and the dialogue, the discourse that is required in order to reveal the truth and to communicate with each other a better way forward, so to speak. Because we're all in the same blue dot together, right? In the middle, floating in the middle of space. This rock. In this hostile environment that's outside of the atmosphere, and there's just this very thin layer between us and the rest of the vacuum of space. So with that being said, with these power vacuums, these different things going on, and these bullshit justifications for and then these the corruption and the abuse of the immigration system here in Canada, that this is what gets me fucking angry, because if I went there, I wouldn't be treated the same. I don't feel like I'd be treated the same, and I don't say this out of desperation. I say this because I've been hurt, right? I've been taken advantage of, bruised and abused by different immigrant populations. And I've said this before in one of my Instagram posts, that I have personally experienced favoritism and witnessed the Tower of Babel scenario, and within different organizations, and how the fighting and trying to find equilibrium of a hierarchy within large corporations, that leads to mistakes, that leads to people's deaths, right? And that's why again, trying to come from this as an aircraft mechanic and as an intellectual, this is what gets me angry, right? And hence why I do this, this history of propaganda, just to reiterate things, not to babble too much. But when there's no investigation and there's no knowledge, all you have is ignorance. And I fucking hate India right now. I really do. I fucking hate it. Because it doesn't feel like the problems are being dealt with, right? And then all the richest people are coming here, and they're usurping the means of economic prosperity for people that are here, and they're just by their existence and their presence here are eliminating possibilities because of governmental policies. And this is why I'm angry, right? This is why I'm angry. You know, again, the lack of education. Is the reason why you have overpopulation. But you can't stop people from having sex. You can't, especially with you know, the idealisms and tenets of Hinduism. You know, so you think about the Kama Sutra. You know, being one of the positives, right? This very loving, very open, very supporting of each other as individuals. And then going, I think about Slumdog Millionaire. That's probably a good one for a refresher. You're thinking about the impoverished population, which is 24% or whatever it was here. Okay, and then the separation between the different provinces, the haves and the have-nots, and these cultural pretexts within their own society. From, you know, just as a quick cross-examination here of you know, the stratum of the class structure from the caste system, and you know how people can hold grudges and can hold, you know, again, having to do with the fight for dominance within the excuse me, within the culture. It's the culture itself, and the micro cultures, or microcosms of the, you know, the expressions of the humanity within this area of the world. So, you know, I might change my mind about wanting to go, because, like, okay, so look, you know, there's an obvious influence here with the golden mongoose. You know, a lot of mongoose are in the Indonesian and Indian regions of Pakistan. That's where one of the largest populations is. You know, because I can't remain hate. I can't keep this hate, because anger is poison, right? It removes the possibility of something better. And, you know, I never had a problem with the Indians until I started hearing about and having to deal with this fucking bullshit of, you know, being taken advantage of. And then, you know, by ignorance and incompetence, losing jobs because of them, or, you know, the lack of action by, you know, by these institutions. For which so many of them are part of here in Canada, you know, again, to go over the same points. So I'm gonna put these links in. Again, the Wikipedia reference, the include, again, from the Gates Foundation, the Encyclopedia Britannica. I don't have any academic papers, but there's obviously a lot more to learn from this. Again, I said this in another video, that there's something to learn from other cultures. You know, since I have to accept that my sister is happy with this man. That's my brother-in-law, and that by, you know, it's not hard to earn loyalty, and it's not hard to see eye to eye. It's not hard to have respect, but I just can't fucking get past the bad people, right? And the ones that, so again, you're talking about the scammers, the call centers, that target Canadians. That's the problem, you know. And it's the fact that the Pakistanis and the Indians just can't seem to get it together. you know, because of other external influences. They have very large problems to deal with that I can't solve myself, you know. And you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And I sure as hell won't drink water from the Ganges. I sure as hell won't. You know, again, this is the poverty and the pollution and the human mess, the human soup that is India. I'm just not going there right now. I just have, let's say I have a covenant with my brother-in-law now. And we'll leave it at that for today. I think that's a pretty good summary of this, and we're getting into close to an hour now. I don't hate India. I don't. I really don't. I'm too smart to hate, right? I deserve to be treated better, right? And so do many other Indians. It's just to go over these points again. The point of my conflict is that they're being brought in for political means, and too many of them have been brought in because of higher intellectualisms and incompetence and this historical revenge and self-loathing of what it is to be a white person. That's my opinion and my observation. You know, and the unwillingness to forgive. I want justice. That's what I want out of all of this. And that's what we should go for. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. This has been the History of Propaganda India edition. Let's put it like that. I don't want to get into... I might get into the military aspects and educate myself even more. And you can be on the journey with me. One step at a time. Because this is what it is to be human. See ya.